Okay.
Alright. So, I'd like to talk about how to draw books. This one's by Ben Crafta. Now, this is a pretty good how to draw book. Because you open it up, it's got some nice artwork, of course. And it talks about different categories and things like that. Heads, weapons, clothing, etc. Gives you a nice introduction. But what makes this a good how to draw book is that unlike some other how to draw books, it talks about the different types of tools you'll need or can use. Talks about digital art, other tools, French curves, circle templates, things like that. And then it tells you about how to draw heads. These are actually just example heads. And then it goes on, and as you can see, it gives you pretty clear step-by-step instructions on how to draw. That's very important. Like this thing here, this is a different angle, but again, you see clear step-by-step instructions, right? Very nice. And the female head tells you how to make guidelines, how to keep things proportionately correct, how to make the face look nice, where to erase and make it look like a real face. It's pretty nice. How to draw eyes. Gives you different eye settings. Again, you see step-by-step instructions. Unfortunately, this book does not give in-depth details about how to draw and make eyes and face shapes. It just gives you a bunch of examples, which is fine for advanced artists. But for beginners, it's really better to have clear step-by-step instructions. These are great examples of how to draw hands. Right? It gives you step-by-step instructions. What it does, so one of the things you've got to learn about is foreshortening if you want to learn to draw comic books especially. Foreshortening is where you create the illusion of movement or length. So it also creates the illusion of a three-dimensional image. Foreshortening is really very important. And then how to draw figures. Basic shapes. So the idea of learning to draw figures is they're composed of these basic shapes. Learning to draw these shapes and then draw them in 3 dimensions, such as you have the triangle, which is a pyramid, the square, which becomes a cube, the circle becomes a cylinder, and also a sphere, and also there's a cone. So these basic shapes allow you to create figures like this. This is bad because it's not a step-by-step instruction. It gives you a basic figure and then a pretty much complete figure, which is bad. And there's not enough steps here to facilitate how to make a complete figure. And also, there's not enough in here to cover different poses. So when you go and look at different how to draw books, they teach you about different forms and poses. And see, this is foreshortening. You give the illusion that it's there, causing a 3-dimensional appearance. But there's not enough steps in between to get from this to this to this completed figure here. There's a lot that goes into all of this. In fact, learning to draw from YouTube videos is really good too. But sometimes you have to have other books like this one. This is by Christopher Hart, actually. And Christopher Hart has really good books on how to draw things, as you can see. This is about anatomy and how to draw things proportionately correct, but it also talks about muscle groups, which can help you a lot in drawing. Anatomy is very important. And this is really good about figure drawing, because what you do is you take tracing paper and you trace over this to draw from muscle memory, so you become familiar with the basic shapes and muscular structure. And this will help you a lot when drawing figures, particularly if you want to be a comic book artist. This has been very helpful. This book is also really great. This is by Ben Dunn, right? and it's called You Can Draw Manga. But what makes this great is that, again, step-by-step instructions. It talks about the directions of movement, the skeletal structure, the basic structures. Gives you lots of examples of how to draw hands and feet from different angles. It's wonderful. This is beautiful. There's lots of different things and techniques in here. And this is really, really good. And a good how to draw book versus a bad one is just simply that sometimes there's not enough in the how to draw book to teach you how to draw. But what it does do is it gives you a basic idea of what to do. Whereas a really bad how to draw book is like this one, How to Draw in a Manga Style. Now this book really does not teach you anything at all, actually. They don't even have really good or clear examples of anything, and doesn't really explain a whole lot either. This is terrible. It doesn't, I'd say for really advanced types of artists, this might give you some good tips on coloring and things like that. But in all reality, not that great for beginners. Like this one, Draw Your Own Manga Beyond the Basics. This is not a book about how to draw. It's a book about how to write stories and what you should include in your manga or comic stories you're attempting or trying to write and draw. This book is actually very good, keeping in mind that it's not a book about how to draw, but how to create the stories you want to draw. Very nice. So this is really all I have to say about that. This book isn't that bad and can teach you a lot about some of the basic things you need to know. So it's okay for beginners. For beginners, I would recommend this one by Ben Dunn over this one because this has more information and a wider coverage of things you need to know. Another good way to learn to draw is to deal with Christopher Hart books, which will also give you muscle groups and step-by-step instructions, which is very cool. So, in conclusion, some how to draw books can be very good, but keep in mind that a lot of them are really bad, because they really don't teach you anything. The best way for you to learn to draw is to just sit down, bust out some paper, and keep drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing until your drawings start to look the way that you want them to, which is basically what I do. But tracing practice is also good, where you trace over figures and other things, and can then learn to draw from muscle memory. One thing I would recommend is experiment and practice drawing from your imagination, so you can learn to draw your own creations instead of just being a human fax machine where you just copy things. So, learning to draw, this book is probably, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 6. Not great, but not good, but it is somewhat medium. And there you go. This is Mr. Fox signing off. Thank you and good night.